Okay, us too. Well, Mark's not in here yet, but he'll be in here shortly.
Terrific. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairman. It's Gay Sugg. I just wanted to let you know that Ameren, Missouri is on the phone.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Olson.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good afternoon.
Is Commissioner Roop on?
Is anybody here? Is anybody out there?
Good afternoon.
What's up, Holden? What's up? Kenny's here too. Woohoo!
So we have Kenny, Roop, and Holzman.
Correct.
I'm actually,
And so-
Kenny is actually trumped this time unlike he was on the 11th.
Woohoo!
Much appreciated, Commissioner. So are we waiting on Commissioner Coleman?
That's the tradition.
Commissioner Coleman was having some trouble connecting, but she's just going to dial in through the number now. So she should be on the call shortly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Maida Coleman here.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Good afternoon. Sorry for the delay.
No problem. Okay, that brings us all into attendance. So we'll go ahead and convene the June 17th, 2020 agenda meeting. We are still conducting agendas via WebEx for the foreseeable future. I would ask those participating on the call to please mute unless you need to speak. We have 9 tariffs and new orders today and a presentation by Ameren on their smart energy plan. First up, we have the approval of the minutes from our June 10th, 2020 agenda meeting. You all have seen those. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the June 10th agenda minutes, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Those minutes are approved 5-0. We also had a June 11th agenda meeting last week. We need to approve those minutes. You all have seen them. Are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the June 11th, 2020 agenda minutes, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those minutes are also approved 5-0. Moving on to tariffs and new orders. First up is file number EO 2020-0280 and EO 2020-0281. This is in the matter of the 2020 Integrated Resource Plan Annual Update for Evergy, Missouri, Evergy Metro Inc., DBA Evergy Missouri Metro, and Evergy Missouri West. Our rules require electric utilities to conduct an annual workshop and report on the company's preferred resource plan to address special contemporary issues. They must then submit a report about the results of the workshop, which Evergy did for its Missouri Metro and Missouri West utilities. Staff, Public Counsel, and Sierra Club each filed comments after Evergy indicated that it would not be changing anything in their 2020 annual IRP update as a result of the workshop process. And while each of them expressed concerns about different parts of Evergy's annual update report, none of the stakeholders requested a hearing. So instead, it was requested that Evergy be directed to respond to the concerns in their next triennial IRP filing. So this order closes the annual update files, but makes it clear that we do expect Evergy to consider the concerns mentioned by the stakeholders in future IRP filings. And I recommend that we approve this order as drafted version 1. Commissioner Kinney?
I support the order as well.
Commissioner Roop?
Yeah, I'm in support too.
Commissioner Coleman?
I'm in support.
And Commissioner Holzman?
I support the order.
All right, all those in favor of approving the order as drafted version 1, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
The order is approved 5-0. Next up, file number WR 2020-0264. This is in the matter of Raytown Water Company's request for annual operating revenue increase. The commission discussed a few weeks ago how we want to handle these local public hearings for the staff-assisted rate case, and decided that we want to conduct both a WebEx-based hearing to give customers an opportunity to provide comments, but also allow them to submit written comments into the case on the record. So this order sets a public hearing for 12:15 on the afternoon of July 9th. The hearing will be streamed on the commission's website at www.psc.mo.gov. But if anyone would like to call in and provide their thoughts during the hearing, they will need to register no later than July 2nd. Raytown Water Company will be mailing a notice of the hearing to customers with information on how to register and speak at the hearing. And I support this order setting a virtual hearing and establishing the procedure for collecting public comments. And this is version 2. Commissioner Kinney?
I support the order.
And Commissioner Roop?
I'm in support as well.
Commissioner Coleman?
I'm in support.
And Commissioner Holzman?
I support the order.
All right, all those in favor of approving the order as drafted version 2, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
The order is approved 5-0. Next up, file number AO 2020-0402. This is in the matter of the assessment against the public utilities in the state of Missouri for the expenses of the commission for fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2020. This order sets the assessment levels for the Public Service Commission for the 2021 fiscal year and directs our Budget and Fiscal Services Department to calculate the share of assessment for each regulated utility and to provide a statement for those assessments to the utilities by July 1st. I support the order as drafted version 1. Commissioner Kinney?
Yeah, I support the order and appreciate all the documents associated with it.
Thank you. Commissioner Roop?
I'm in support of the order.
Commissioner Coleman?
I support the order.
And Commissioner Holzman?
I support the order.
All right. All those in favor of approving the order as drafted version 1, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That order is approved 5-0. Next up, file number WA 2019-0185. This is in the matter of the application of Osage Utility Operating Company, Inc. to acquire certain water and sewer assets and for a certificate of convenience and necessity. This order changes from confidential to public the designation of a redacted copy of the transcript from the hearing last September to the public. No party objected to making the redacted version of the transcript, Volume 3, public, so I support the order as drafted, Version 1. Commissioner Kinney
I do as well.
and Commissioner Roop,
I am in support.
Commissioner Coleman,
I support the order.
and Commissioner Holzman.
I support the order.
All right, all those in favor of approving the order as drafted, Version 1, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
That order is approved 5-0. Next up, file number EO 2018-0211. This is in the matter of Union Electric Company, DBA Ameren, Missouri's third filing to implement regulatory changes in furtherance of energy efficiency as allowed by MEA. The Commission previously approved Ameren, Missouri's 2019 through 2021 MEA Energy Efficiency Program and a stipulation and agreement which set timeframes for items to be completed. That included a June 9th, 2020 deadline for the 2019 program year evaluation, measurement, and verification final report to be filed by the contractor. Earlier this month, Ameren requested a 9-day extension of that deadline. Staff indicated that it did not oppose the extension so long as the other deadlines were also pushed back. No responses were received, so this order grants the EM&V 2019 final report filing and amends the EM&V schedule to extend other deadlines. And I recommend that we support the order as drafted, Version 1. Commissioner Kinney
I support the order.
and Commissioner Roop,
I am in support as well.
Commissioner Coleman,
I support the order.
and Commissioner Holzman.
I support the order.
All right, all those in favor of approving the order as drafted, Version 1, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That order is approved 5-0. Next up, file number WR 2020-0275. This is in the matter of Elm Hills Utility Operating Company, Inc.'s request for a water and sewer rate increase. Similar to our previous order for the Raytown Water Company, this order sets a virtual local public hearing for Elm Hills Utility Company's staff-assisted rate case. This hearing will be on July 14th at 6 p.m. via WebEx. Those that want to offer testimony can register by 5 p.m. on July 7th to participate. Written comments can also be accepted in this case record as long as they are received by July 22nd. The virtual local public hearing is also going to be streamed on the Commission's website, www.psc.mo.gov. And I support this order setting the virtual hearing and establishing the procedure for collecting public comments. This is Version 1. Commissioner Kinney
I support the order.
and Commissioner Roop,
I'm in support.
Commissioner Coleman,
I'm in support also.
and Commissioner Holzman.
Aye.
All righty, all those in favor of approving the order as drafted, Version 1, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
That order is also approved 5-0. Next up, file number WM 2020-0174. This is in the matter of the application of Liberty Utilities, Missouri Water LLC, DBA Liberty Utilities, to acquire the water and sewer franchises and assets of Lakeland Heights Water Company, Oak Briar Water Company, RD, Sewer Company, LLC, and Whispering Hills Water System. So Liberty Utilities is seeking approval to acquire the water and sewer assets for Lakeland Heights, Oak Briar RD Sewer, and Whispering Hills. The Commission staff reviewed the request and recommends that it be approved with conditions, including that Liberty Utilities adopt the current tariffs and rates for the selling utilities until a potential consolidation request in a future rate case, and that the depreciation rates for the systems be based off the rates set in the most recent rate cases for the acquired utilities. No other responses were received. When reviewing the sale of the assets for a regulated utility, the Commission considers if it is not detrimental to the public interest. And when looking at granting of a CCN, the Commission applies the 5 Tartan factors. In this case, I don't think the sale to Liberty Utilities is detrimental to the public interest. And I believe that Liberty has the experience operating water and sewer systems and the technical and managerial skills to operate these systems. I also think that they have met the Tartan factors and have the financial ability to provide the service. And since that promotes the public interest, I support this order approving the transfer of assets and granting the CCNs. And this is version 1. Commissioner Kenny.
Yes, I support the order and support your comments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Roop,
I support the order.
Commissioner Coleman,
I'm in support of the order.
and Commissioner Holzman.
I support the order.
All right. All those in favor of approving the order as drafted, version 1, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. That order is approved 5-0. Next up, file number GR 2017-0299. This is in the matter of Spire Missouri Inc., DBA Spire Missouri's purchase gas adjustment factors to be reviewed in its 2016 through 2017 actual cost adjustment. This order sets the actual cost adjustment balances for Spire's East's 2016 through 2017 period. After the company filed its ACA balance on October 2017, staff performed an audit of the billed revenues and actual gas costs for that period. Since then, staff and the company have continued to have meetings and tried to resolve some of the monetary disputes. Last month, staff submitted a recommendation stating that with the additional clarifications and documentations provided by Spire, staff no longer feels that a monetary adjustment is necessary. No other responses were received, so this order establishes the final ACA balance for this period without adjustments, and this is version 1. I support this order. Commissioner Kenny
I support the order.
and Commissioner Roop,
I'm in support as well.
Commissioner Coleman,
I support the order.
and Commissioner Holzman.
I support the order.
All right, all those in favor of approving the order as drafted, version 1, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
That order is approved 5-0. Final order today is file number WO 2020-0190. This is in the matter of the petition of Missouri American Water Company for its approval to change an infrastructure system replacement surcharge. This is the report and order approving Missouri American Water Company's adjustment for its ISRIS. As we discussed at agenda last week, I think that the IRS made clear in its private letter ruling that the with or without method should be applied when determining the amount of a net operating loss for plant additions. So consistent with the language in the ISRIS statute, the approved recovery amount includes the $35,328 in adjustments to the accumulated deferred income tax for plant in the current ISRIS. And I support the order as drafted, version 2. Commissioner Kenny,
I support the order.
Commissioner Roop,
I support it as well.
Commissioner Coleman,
I support the order.
and Commissioner Holzman.
I support the order.
All right, all those in favor of approving the order as drafted, version 2, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That order is also approved 5-0. So that concludes reports and new orders today. As I mentioned, we do have another discussion, which is a presentation by Ameren Missouri on their smart energy plan. Before we get to that, I would like to go over upcoming scheduling so that we can just adjourn at the conclusion of the presentation. So Wednesday, June 24th, we have agenda scheduled for 10:15 a.m. Thursday, June 25th, there's an evidentiary hearing in WC 2020-0181. That is Beecham v. Missouri American Water Company. Judge Graham presiding at 10 a.m. via Zoom. Wednesday, July 1st, agenda at 10 a.m. Wednesday, July 8th, agenda at 10 a.m. We also have an evidentiary hearing in EC 2020-0183. That's Feckin v. Empire. Judge Graham will be presiding on that one via WebEx. Tuesday, July 9th, there's the local public hearing in WR 2020-0264. This is the Raytown Water Company's request for annual operating revenue increase. That will be at noon via WebEx. Thursday, July 14th is the local public hearing for WR 2020-0275. That's the matter of Elm Hills Utility Operating Company, Inc.'s request for a water rate increase. That will be at 6 p.m. via WebEx. Wednesday, July 15th, agenda at 10 a.m. Wednesday, July 22nd, also agenda at 10:15 and Wednesday, July 29th, agenda at 10:15. Are there any requests, questions, or comments regarding scheduling?
No.
All right, seeing none, we will get on to the other discussion. This is the presentation by Ameren on their smart energy plan. This is in relating to case EO 2019-0044. Gay Suggett, I believe you're on the phone.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I certainly am. And thank you to you and the other commissioners for allowing Ameren Missouri to make our smart energy plan presentation today. This is a very similar presentation that we made during our stakeholder meeting in March. We plan to keep our presentation fairly brief so we can allow plenty of time for discussion and questions. Mark Burke, our Senior Vice President of Customer and Power Operations, will make the presentation today. But also on the call to help answer any questions is Warren Wood, Vice President of Regulatory and Legislative Affairs, and Julie Tiemann, Director of Missouri Strategic Initiatives. So Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you to make the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Gay, and good afternoon, and thank you, commissioners, for allowing us the opportunity to talk to you and provide you an update on our smart energy plan. So if we can go to slide 2 in the presentation. Can everyone see the slides, or does everyone have the slides?
Yes, they're being shared on the screen.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Commissioner. So basically, during 2019, we made significant progress associated with the Smart Energy Plan. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I want to touch on some of the adjustments we've made in the way that we work associated with COVID-19 and how that has impacted us from an operational perspective. And then I want to provide a look forward for 2020 through 2024 of the Smart Energy Plan, and I'll answer any questions, and we'll answer any questions that you may have as I walk through this. So again, thank you for your time. So when you look at the key elements of the Smart Energy Plan, and as we look at it for 2020 through 2024, we're looking at about $6.4 billion in electric investments. As you know, the legislation required that we have a 25% minimum annual investment in grid modernization. The plan that we're going to present has approximately 44% of the total investment in grid modernization. So, we clearly believe that there's a lot of opportunity on our system to continue to upgrade and replace equipment really for the betterment of our customers. The other thing that the Smart Energy Plan did was it delivered a 6% rate cut in August of 2018. It also delivered an additional 1.5% rate cut in 2020. Some of the accomplishments we had in the first year of the plan was we invested 38% of the total amount for 2019 of our total capital amount budget for Ameren Missouri in grid modernization. We provided $8 million in solar rebates, completed 900 plus projects, and really, improved the reliability of our system. 2019 was an interesting year for us. As you look at the storms that we had more major storms and more minor storms than we have in a typical year, and quite a bit more. And we were able to respond to those storms, fairly quickly. And we really had, we believe, a smaller impact from a customer perspective of those storms due to not only investments we've made in the past in our veg management processes, but also due to some of the investments we made in 2019. And I'll talk about that as we go forward. The other thing I think that's important with the Smart Energy Plan is it provides an economic benefit. There's some direct economic benefit to businesses, that take advantage of some of the economic development associated with the plan. But there's also additional benefit, direct benefit to the various businesses and employees, coworkers, contractors that are actually working on the plan. Everything from linemen to contractors that do our directional boring, to foundations, to construction. When we look at the impact, about 55% of the suppliers that supplied material and labor to the plan are Missouri-based. So we use about 1,000 different suppliers for the plan last year, and over 55% of those were based out of Missouri. We actually have a supplier out of Fulton that provides a lot of our substation housings and substation buildings, and they do an excellent job for us. But what I want to leave you with is not only does this provide reliability and affordability benefits for our customers, but it also provides economic benefits for our state. So if we can turn to the next slide, and this is a slide similar to a slide that we showed you last year, and this is really consistent with the Ameren Missouri strategy and overall Ameren strategy. And, we believe that the future of, the electric system really relies on the grid. We believe that customers will get the most benefit, if we continue to transform the grid in a way that provides a higher level of reliability, more affordability, and also provides customers with the ability to better get information and better understand their usage, and also provide better feedback for our operating groups such that we can more quickly respond to outages and events that occur on our system. So when you look at the transformation from where we are today, which is on the left-hand side of the slide, to tomorrow, which is on the right, it looks like things get busier. But in reality, what happens is we're integrating more renewables onto our system, and we're adding more technologically smart devices. And when you do that, more sensors, more data analytics, things like that, it also requires a more robust communication system. So not only do you have to put the devices in, but you ultimately have to be able to talk with them and get information back from them. So just to give you some examples of things we're doing around the grid, some of them around substations where we're basically replacing and upgrading old, what we call oil-filled circuit breakers to new vacuum and SF6 breakers. And these breakers, the new breakers, for instance, require an overhaul cycle that is longer than the existing oil breakers. And the existing oil breaker, you may have to overhaul every 3 to 6 years. The new devices can go 6 to 12 years. And what that ultimately does is provide a higher level of reliability, but also a lower cost to our customers as we go forward. And that's just one example. I think smart meters are another example, and I'll touch upon that a little later in the presentation. But what they will provide is more information to our customers, on their usage, and really better outage information for us, which will allow us to respond more quickly when we do have outages on our system. When you look at from a generation perspective, really the big thing we're focused on is, reducing greenhouse gas and providing reliable service to our customers while transitioning our fleet. So we recognize that as our coal plants continue to get older, we do have to transition to more, cleaner renewable energy sources. And I believe as this commission's aware, we are in the process of currently constructing 700 megawatts of wind to meet the renewable energy standard. And we're in the process of working through an integrated resource plan that we will be filing at the end of this year. From a customer perspective, when you look at the grid of tomorrow, we expect that it will provide higher reliability, fewer outages, quicker restoration, and as I've touched upon before, just better overall information to customers. So I'll pause. Are there any questions so far?
Any
If
questions
not,
from
I'll
the
talk.
commission?
Kenny's
Yes.
good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I will go on to slide 5 and talk a little bit about the 2019 results. And I'm going to focus really on
just
4 areas.
Wait,
I'm
just 1
sorry.
second. Commissioner Kinney, did you have a question, or were you saying you didn't have questions?
No, I'm great. Good presentation. I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Proceed.
No, no problem. Just, hey, interrupt. Commissioners, anytime, interrupt, it's perfect. So when you look at slide 5 on our 2019 results, I'm really going to focus on 4 areas to talk about. While we have over 900 plus projects we did, and some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller, we believe these are some of the key areas, when you look at grid modernization and when you look at improving reliability of the grid and the overall system. So first thing I wanted to touch upon was substations. We have approximately 900 substations across our system. And, substation basically, its main goal is to take energy from the transmission system, supply it at a higher voltage, and basically bring the voltage down to a level that can be used by our customers. So we have a number of these substations that basically step the voltage down and also provide safety in that they switch circuits off should you get faults on them. And as we've looked at our system and looked at all 900 substations, we've identified, when you go to the column under status, we've identified 175 substations that we believe need to be upgraded or replaced, in the coming future. And by coming future, we're talking about over the next 5 to 10 years. And we track those closely. We've developed plans and we've developed processes. And really the benefits that customers get out of this is, again, it's really around the reliability and ultimately the lower cost of maintenance. So these substations with breakers and insulators and a lot of different components, many of our substations are 50 or 60 years old. And really, they're just past the end of life. And there's some of them that systematically, because of maybe the type of equipment that's in them, or the type of the design at the time they were done, aren't as reliable as others. And we're looking to replace all of those. So in 2019, we constructed 13 new substations. And really, when you look at the status, that really hit about 7%. And you can see we spent a little over $50 million on it in 2019. And again, we're prioritizing to hit the worst substations first from a reliability perspective. And as we go on, continue to replace them over time. Again, we hit a very small amount of the total number, but we believe that we're working down the path, again, to provide benefits to customers associated with this. When you look at underground cable, we have thousands of miles of underground cable on our system. The 2 biggest problems we see, though, are with what we call lead exit cables. And a lead exit cable, basically, I talked about substations earlier. Generally, all of our substations, the exit from them goes underground through an underground cable and then comes up onto a pole where it goes overhead. And it's in these exit cables where we've had reliability problems and we've had outages. So we've identified the worst cases. We're working to get those replaced. Again, in 2019, we were able to hit about 7%, about 70 miles of exit cables and direct bury cables of the 1,000 miles that we believe need to be done. And we invested about $25 million on that. When you look at system hardening, what this really is looking at our overall system and finding those circuits that have had historical reliability problems, that have, a large number of customers or sensitive customers, and by that it could be hospitals or others, that are sensitive to losses, of electric service to provide key support to our customers. We also look at ones that have a dated design or standards that may have been upgraded between the time they put in and now. And then we also look at overall system needs. And when we've done that, we've identified about 570 miles of our sub-transmission system that we believe, and this is predominantly our 34 kV system, that need to be replaced or upgraded over time. So we have a plan to do that. This past year, we hit 25 miles of those, and you can see we generally, when we upgrade them, we replace conductors, we put in composite poles that are much more storm resistant, and fiberglass cross arms, and we also replace old glass insulators with newer styles that are much more robust. And the last thing I'll touch upon is distribution automation. We have a goal across our system to put what we call a distribution automation device, which is really a DA switch. It's a smart switch for each 400 customers. And what it does, it allows us basically, when we have a fault on the line, to automatically isolate it to the smallest amount of customers, and it'll open up that section. And ultimately, if the fault falls away, let's say it's a tree branch that falls through the line and trips the line, if the line senses it's no longer there, it will reclose. So not only does it help us reduce the number of people impacted by an outage, but it also provides the ability to restore people much quicker. And so in 2019, we basically put in 180 new smart DA devices. We have about 600 to 700 on our system now. If we put these for about every 400 customers, it's about 3,000 switches. So when you look at the long-term target, it is to do that. So we're at about 8% right now. I'll pause to see if there's any questions. If not, I'll move on to just discussing briefly some of our operations associated with COVID-19. And just as a highlight, going into this, as the rest of the country has, and the state has, and the cities have, there really was no playbook on how to handle this. So one of the things that we focused on heavily from the beginning was our core strategy was number one, be able to keep our coworkers and our customers safe. Number two, be able to provide reliable service to our customers. So those were the two overarching goals. And what we went about doing then, as we looked at our coworkers and it being able to continue to provide service, was to not only follow all the CDC guidelines that were coming out, around hygiene and mask and everything, but also try and reduce the number of groups that we have to as small a size as possible. So to give you an example, in an operating center, we generally have about 30 or so linemen that work out of each operating center across our system. Now, it varies by area and by location, but generally that's about right. And the way they'd work before COVID is all 30 of them would come to a common gathering room in the morning. They would have a safety brief, and then they would talk through their jobs with their supervisor, and then they would head out in the field to do the work. Well, we realized that that process wasn't going to work anymore because, you know, if you had one coworker that came in that was infected, it could quickly infect the other 30 or the other 29 in that operating center, which could hinder our ability, in addition to, being obviously a problem for those coworkers because we don't want people getting sick, but it also would hinder our ability to supply that area. So what we did is we broke all of those down into what we call pods, and each pod, you'll see in this picture here, is really 3 people. So we have basically a crew leader and 2 linemen in each pod. And we broke out the areas they report out of, so they no longer come together in a central operating location. They may gather at a substation, or they may gather somewhere else. They get their job assignments virtually, remotely through smartphones and things like that, and they head out from those locations. So they're very well isolated from their other coworkers. And we split the crews up. We did the isolation. We changed some of our work schedules around because in some areas like the power plants, all the maintenance people still had to come into the plant or into a location at the plant. So we split crews up, and we did that by adjusting schedules. So for instance, in a coal plant right now, our maintenance crews are working on a 12-hour schedules where we've broken them into 3 teams, and the 3 teams really don't cross paths with each other. And then we clean areas in between so that we reduce the risk of people being exposed. At the end of the day, this has worked out very well. We've had less than 20 cases of COVID throughout Ameren. In Ameren, Missouri, we've had probably 10 to 12 cases of COVID, and of those 10 to 12, 7 of them occurred at Merrimack Power Plant, and that was early on in the process. And since that time, and since we've put all of these actions into place, we have not had, I think we may have had 1 case in energy delivery and 1 additional case in a power plant. So the bottom line with all of this is our facilities have continued to operate very well. Our plants, our energy delivery system, our call centers, all of our call centers, we have 1 in St. Louis, 1 in Jeff City. We have over 95% of our people in our call centers working from home today. And we've been, the service levels we're providing customers have been higher. They're up, higher than they've been in a number of years. Now our call volume has been down, and I know we've talked to the commission. We've talked to you about this in the past. Some of that has to do with a reduction, we're not doing disconnects at this point, but still every area has performed excellent, and we've been able to keep, our coworkers safe while providing the reliable energy to our customers. I'll pause to see if there's any questions. Okay, so I'll go on to slide number 8, and this really gives you an overview of the next 5 years of the Smart Energy Plan. And when you look at this slide, what's on the left side are the same categories we used when we filed in 2019. And again, as you'll see, when you look at the 5-year totals of the investments we're making, you know, they're heavily based upon the grid, on, you know, the grid and the smart meter program. We are still making investments in our generation, non-nuclear generation, predominantly around environmental, whether it be putting in equipment to allow us to shut down ash ponds and convert our ash systems to dry operation, or whether it be putting in some components in our boilers to continue to maintain reliability of the plant. We're continuing to invest in nuclear, hydro, renewables, and gas. The part you see in the renewable and gas turbines, some of the dollars are associated with gas turbines, some of them with solar and other forms of renewable. And then, of course, we have the wind asset acquisition at the bottom, the $1.2 billion for the 700 megawatts. Along with that, we're continuing to make investments in the transmission system. We do believe, you know, as we continue to develop the grid, transmission is a key part of it. And as we transition our generation fleet, you know, from one that's more carbon-based to one that's much less carbon-based, transmission will play a significant role, because that gives us the ability not only to put renewables in Missouri, but also use renewables that could be outside of Missouri. And, you know, I think cyber and technology, we continue to make investments in our digital space, really predominantly around customers and customer support and the grid automation technologies. And then customer support facilities. These are some of our operating centers that really have, you know, gone past end of life. Some of them that were built in the 50s and 60s, where these are the locations that some of our field workers report to. And we're actually, with COVID, reassessing some of those to see if it may change the way we operate longer term. The innovative opportunities are things like looking at a technical application center to help us test and try out new technologies and things like that. So if there are no questions, I'll move on to slide 9. Slide 9, really, I went over a lot of this when I talked about 2019, and what you'll see here is the key areas I talked about there are still the key areas that we see going forward, you know, in 2020 and beyond. You know, we feel like grid resiliency substations, the smart grid or the distribution automation, and then the underground cabling, they are keys for us to continue to provide, you know, reliable, affordable service for our customers. We have a lot of other categories that we're also making investments in, but when you look at it from a grid and an operations perspective, these are the key categories. So I won't go through all those again unless there's questions. Turning to slide 10. This just gives you some examples of projects that we're going to be executing on. The Pershall project, which is, it's really an interesting project because in North St. Louis County, one of the things, it is an older part of our system when you look at our electrical system, and we have a lot of lower voltage 4 kV as opposed to 12 kV, which we have in other parts of the system, and it's just a matter of how the system built out. So what this does is really allow us to, you know, begin rebuilding and upgrading, you know, the North County part of our system. The Smart Energy Plan is really focused on investments throughout the state, and we just want, you know, I'm just highlighting a few here, but this is one of the key ones that we see because, you know, we recognize that in doing this, this will help us minimize some of the storm damage and increase reliability for our customers. The Brennan Interrupter, which is in High Ridge, is really just another example of, you know, the distribution automation device, the DA devices I was talking about earlier. And then the hardening is really an example of some of the 34 kV circuits that we plan to upgrade. This just gives you an example of one circuit that we're doing, and you can see the benefits. You know, it basically helps lower the number of outages and the duration, helps reduce momentary outages, and allows us to have a faster response. So all of this really benefits the customers. Turning to slide 11, just wanted to touch upon the smart meter program. As the slide shows, we installed the first network device in St. Charles in January of 2020, and what that really is a communication device that talks with the meters. So we've been installing those devices both in St. Charles and in Berkeley. We picked St. Charles to start with for the implementation of the smart meter program because it's got a good mix of both customer type from, you know, residential to commercial to industrial, but it's also has a mix of urban and rural. So it gives us a good kind of cross section of our system. We are on target to set the first meter in July of this year. You know, everything is progressing well, and I think as you see the benefits associated with the smart meter program, clearly it provides better visibility to customers on their energy management. It will provide for more rate choices, and from an operating perspective, it gives us better outage detection. You know, right now we have systems that can tell if a broad circuit's out or if, you know, some broad areas are out. This will allow us to pinpoint and locate outages much quicker, which allows us to respond and be able to restore service much quicker. So we see a lot of benefit in it. Ultimately, we plan to have all of the electric and gas meters complete by the end of 2025. There's also a significant customer affordability component with this, in that as we go to the AMI meters, it will help us reduce costs associated with the supplier we're currently using to support our AMR meters. So there's benefit there also. I'll pause to see if anyone has questions on anything. Okay, if not, I will go to the last slide. And really, this is just an overview slide of kind of in a snapshot of really the grid of the future and how we see the smart energy plan and where the plan will take us through 2023. But as you can see, again, it focuses on the smart switches, the meters, the power line upgrades, and the substations that we believe are key. Also, you know, the ability to continue to transition our fleet as, you know, as our generation, especially our fossil plants, continue to get older to new technologies that will ultimately reduce, you know, our carbon. And again, these numbers that are shown, the 80% by 2050 is really 80% below 2005 levels, which is shown on there. And that's generally where most utilities kind of peg when you hear things about reductions they're making. It's generally from the 2005 levels. So with that, that is the end of my presentation, and I'll open it up for any comments. I do appreciate your time, and, you know, I do appreciate, you know, the support you've given us in the past on this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't have any questions, but I do appreciate the information. It's always good to get these updates and a little bit of insight on exactly what's going on there on the ground. So I do appreciate that. Any other commission questions?
This is Kenny. I don't have any questions, but I would like to thank you for the presentation. And congratulations on, under this pandemic, keeping your cases to a minimum and the way you strategically operated during this time. So I'm just appreciative to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Questions?
No questions, Mr.
Okay, well, thank you again for the presentation. It's very insightful. If there are no other commission questions, that concludes our business for agenda today. So we will be adjourned. Thank you very much,
Mr.
everybody.
Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.